Hello, welcome to Codenbox Automation Lab. This is Sharful. So today we're here for a mock interview, and we have other hand our candidate. Our name is Jennifer, and it's today's interview is based on manual testing, Java, Selenium, and the very basic SQL. Okay, Jennifer, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll start with the manual testing part. Let's see, what is the objective of testing? Just objective of testing.
The objective of testing is to create that test cases. Firstly, bug-free test cases ensure that it matches actual results. They are matching with the expected result, and it should be bug-free. And
Yes.
it meets the all the requirements.
This is, I would say, this is partial. Like, that's what we do for during the testing. That the main objective of the testing would be like, what's our ultimate goal? Ultimate goal is to deliver a quality product, right?
Oh,
Which is like, the one is the product is bug free, less bug, and definitely it will deliver a quality product. Right? So
quality product.
that's our ultimate goal. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, Next is like, how do you ensure your test cases are covering all the requirements?
Okay.
As a test start, right? So we have to confirm that the test cases we're writing.
Firstly, we have to check the requirements.
Mhm,
It should be clear so that we can write the test scenarios.
mhm.
And we have to cover all the positive as well as negative test cases, scenarios in test cases. So with the help of test coverage,
Yeah.
we can ensure that
Do you use any kind of matrix that to give you the
requirement traceability matrix, which map the requirements to the user stories.
Yes, that's the
So
one of
it's helpful.
yeah, it is a traceability matrix. It's the one
Yeah, RTM
pinpoint that's a map or the requirement
requirements.
is the test cases, right? That's one
Yeah.
thing. Right. So that would be the at least one pretty answer, pretty good answer, like using the traceability metrics to make sure and please because it's give you the relationship between your requirement versus your test cases, right?
Okay.
Okay. And next question would be suppose you found a bug during your test execution. What do you do exactly? Do you file it? I mean, after you to make it a little bit more easier, like you found a bug, so right, you create a you, you file a bug and you submit to
Developers.
can you explain a little bit? Like,
Yeah. If I found a bug during testing, I will report that bug to the developer team
mhm,
that I got a bug, uh, and they will fix it.
mhm.
If they found it genuine, they will fix it, and I will, moreover, I will inform if they will not accept the bug, then uh, I will inform my team leaders or product owner about that to make clarifications about the requirements.
Yes. So isn't it like this part should be it's as a QA, it's our job to ensure whether this is the bug or not, other than
Yes.
verifying by the developer. So I think as a QA, that's our one of the core jobs. Like as soon as you find a bug, not to jump on creating a ticket and send to the developer, other than double check. You can double check to ensure whether it's a bug or not. It could be some like environment issue, right? It could be some browser compatibility issue. Could be some setting issues, right? Those for due to those reasons, you may think about this is a bug, but in reality, it is not a bug, right?
Okay.
So it's in that case, like you and if you feel like that you don't have the clear business logic, with the product owner to make sure that that the business logic or the business logic against that bug, it's clear. So that then you know that like what would be the configuration, setup, all those things. Then you double check one more time, and then there is also some best practice would be, when you find a bug, from your browser development and developer tool comes from the console, check that JavaScript response, right? Let's see the JavaScript error. When you say example, you enter a username and password, valid username and password, but it still is giving you some error. So it could be some server issue, right? It could be, so you can check on your JavaScript response. You can check your network response. You can check even the application, they have a log activity. So through those things, you can verify those, is that really the bug or not? So that, there is no doubt when you find a bug and it goes to the developer, right?
Okay.
Okay. And it's still like if you file a bug and the developer saying it's not a bug, what do you do?
Then I will inform the product owner
Mhm.
to make the requirements clear,
Mhm.
and then the decision maker will be PO.
Yeah.
That whether it's a bug or not.
Yeah, that's good. And besides, it's good to inform your team leader too.
Yeah, team leader. Yeah.
Like the QA team leader or manager who is like inform them and yes, and contract with a product owner since to make it a clear requirement. So if it's a requirement is clear, then it will be tell you is that really bug or not against that requirement, and the product owner can make a decision, right? Yes, you're right in this. And in Agile, now most of the company they use Agile. So in Agile, the user history is not clear enough, or you don't have the clear document, which is very common in Agile industry. So as a QA, what do you do if the user history is not clear enough?
As a QA, I will try to make my own judgment. I will try to make the test scenarios based on our own judgment.
Like
and write.
Mhm.
I have and write the test cases according to that scenarios, means based on our own judgment.
Base your own judgment, you case it, or
No, I have to write that set of test scenarios.
How are you gonna set the test scenarios? Isn't it a base? Isn't it would be the base? Like, yes, you are going to definitely. I got your point. Yes, you have your own judgment, but your own judgment have to be based on it's like user flow, the application user flow. So
like I will try to understand and explore. Explore that application, and then apply my own judgment to define the test scenarios.
Yeah.
Firstly, I have to understand and explore it.
Yeah.
And then moreover, I will try to communicate with my PO and other team members, means and to get more information about it, to get the missing information.
Yeah, you're pretty close. I mean, yes, and like it definitely, I mean, it's better you will understand and try to explore the application to come up with the best user flow scenario, and then based on that, you will write your test cases or scenarios. And on the other hand, definitely it's a better, you'll try your best to communicate with the product owner, since the product owner have the best knowledge about, have the best knowledge about the application or missing document. Sometimes even developer, they can help. So like whoever the developer also is going to work that specific story, you can control with the developer also to get the missing inside.
Missing information. Yeah.
And l- lastly, like, it's very common, like, what is a test plan?
What is a test
Plan.
plan?
So you write a test or I create a test cases, right? So,
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
in the,
So, test plan is a document that describes the resources, scope, uh, and activities of uh, activity activities. Like it is an blueprint to conduct the testing, to conduct the software testing of testing activities, and in test plan. Uh, uh, it helps people outside the testing like developers, uh, customers, so that's to understand the testing detail.
hmm,
And moreover, in test plan, important aspects like estimation, uh, their test coverage, their strategies, these can be this
document.
can be viewed this can be reviewed. And moreover, it guides our thinking.
Yes. I mean, I think
Okay?
understood.
We need to be followed it.
Yeah, I understood. That's pretty much like you have the overall idea. So it is a simply it is a document, a large document, or you can say guideline, where it's mentioned like your scope, like the approach, or like what would be the approach? Is that a manual or automation? The resources, like all different type of resources, hardware, software, the human resources, and a schedule to intend different testing activities. Like when would be the deliver, when we should start our testing, right? So all those work, it's mentioned in the book. This book is called Test Plan, so that outside of the testing team, like the product team, dev team, even the customer support, they know that what's the testing team exactly doing, what QA team is exactly doing, right?
We have to future activities of a project,
Like
what we are doing it.
exactly. And based on that, the tester, they do other activities like they work based on that, they write the test cases, they execute it, so all is defined, all the plan. That's why it's called the plan. So it is a plan or it's a guideline, right?
Okay. Okay. Fine.
Okay. So that's all pretty much from the manual part. Let's move on Java.
Oh, wow. Not in difficult ones.
So since, we're covering the automation too, so which is in Selenium, and in particularly over here, we're talking about that, using a Java for Selenium automation, right? So we'll have a few thoughts about the Java. Let's see that it's how, how much we have the knowledge. Uh, so first I would say, what is an exception in Java?
Exception is like when an error is thrown, like when any test case gets failed, then it throws an exception.
Mhm.
So that's called exception, and we can handle that exception. We have a Selenium tool, like with the help of try and catch.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So any test cases fail, so that's throw an exception or error, or you can say exception. It's an event when interrupt the normal execution of our program, right? So that's
Mm.
exception. I mean, uh, in general, if we think about it, what is exception? So exception usually it's an event occur which interrupt our normal the programming flow, right? So that's an exception. And as you said, like, yes, how we handle the exception handled by using it, try catch block. Try catch block is not from Selenium, okay? It is from Java. So
Okay.
it's the mechanism, right? So
Okay. Okay.
we use a try catch block, where inside a try, we put that like the code we want to execute, and the block in the catch block, we put that some support
Handle the errors.
handle the errors, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If errors happen, so that it doesn't stop the execution, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Very good. Then why does why Java does not support multiple inheritance? Do you know that?
Uh, Why Java does not support
multiple inheritance. Do you know what is inheritance?
Yes, in which a child class, they can access properties from the parent class, means subclass from superclass, inherits properties of, yeah.
Then so it means it makes a relationship between two class as a parent and child.
Parent,
So
yeah.
and child class can inherit the properties from the child from the parent class using an extend keyword, right?
Yes,
Really.
yes,
So
yes.
here is the thing. So Java is saying, okay, you can inheritance just one layer, like does it
Single,
yes.
yeah,
So Java doesn't allow multiple inheritance, like extend say class A, extend class B, comma class C.
class.
Class doesn't Java doesn't allow that. So do you know why Java doesn't allow that?
Mm, I have read that in in with the help of interface in concrete class which have no body definition, in that we can use multi-level inheritance, but in Java we can't.
Yeah, that's we're talking about interface.
Yeah, interface.
This is a question about the inheritance. Say, example, I'm saying there's a class C, child class, then we use extend, which is a keyword that we use to make a relationship between two class. One class would be the child class, and another class.
I got it. It will call the same method.
Yes.
Yes. And then they didn't know which method to call, and it will cause the ambiguous error.
Exactly.
So that's why. Yeah, I got it.
Exactly. So because when a child class, since this child class have the rights to call any properties from the parent class. So if there is a multiple parent, say class A and class B, so multiple parents is like multiple inheritance, and both parents, for example, some reason, they have one common method. So the child, they call the same common method, then the compiler will get confused, right?
Confused. Yeah.
Which method you want me to call from the parent A or parent B, right? So it will bring up then, it is called the ambiguity error. So so to avoid that kind of error, Java says, okay, it strictly says, we don't support multiple inheritance, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Very good. What is polymorphism?
Polymorphism means many forms. It is used to refer to a. I didn't get the definition. For example, I can give the example like WebDriver driver is equal to new Chrome driver that we use. So WebDriver here, it is a parent, that is interface, and driver, it's an object reference, and next is a Chrome driver, that is a child subclass. So here driver
is an object. It's using that reference. It's a
for both parent and child. So WebDriver and Chrome driver, they can use in like driver dot close, driver dot send case. We can use it in different ways.
Yeah, you're pretty close. Yeah, you already gave the example. So this is the example used in
Selenium also. Yeah.
So it is similar. It's similar like the interface. It makes it's allow you to make a relationship between two different class as the parent and child, and mostly mostly what do you use? So the parent class reference is used to refer to a child class object. So here the driver is working as a reference.
Yeah.
Right. So driver working as a reference for child class, and also it is a variable, or you can say a reference for the parent class too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what is abstract class?
Abstract class.
Or you can say, what is abstraction? What is the idea of abstraction?
Yeah, I know that mainly the abstract is a keyword which is used with classes and methods. Uh, so you asked me abstract or abstraction?
Yeah, I mean, you can say the abstract.
Anyone? Okay, abstract is a keyword which is used with classes and methods. An abstract method, uh, it means there is no body definition. Uh, and to inherit the, if we want to inherit the abstract class, uh, it should use the very first level of child class, means not subclasses, like very first level of child class. And moreover, abstraction is a design concept that declares only functionalities, but doesn't know about the body, doesn't know the body.
Yes, you're pretty much.
And abstract class, it can have abstract and non-abstract methods, and a class that have at least one abstract method, that's called abstraction.
Yes, you're right. So I think this is the
Abstract
last
class.
the answer. You don't have to make that big answer. So it's
Okay.
it is a keyword that is used with the class as well as the method. Right. So, and when it's used with the method, it's just called abstract method. It means, the method is without a body definition, and the abstract class, it means it should have at least one abstract method.
Yeah.
We have a concrete method too, right?
Yeah. Concrete method. Yeah.
Okay. And the last question of the Java would be, what is interface class?
Interface is a pure abstract class that contains only abstract methods.
Like
and yeah, in this, the keyword interface is used, and we use implement keyword to inherit the interface child class.
yes. Did you use any interface class on your Selenium project?
What to answer? I don't know about that.
Okay, yeah. So
I didn't.
yeah, we did. It's very simple. It's the same thing. Like it's a WebDriver is an interface, right?
Yeah.
The interface class. It means all the method in WebDrivers, like a click method, SendKiss method, all are without a body definition. And we need to implement, of those that WebDriver or interface class to a Java class, which is we use the Chrome driver. Like it's a simple example that a WebDriver driver equals new Chrome driver. This is the reason why we use, because one of the reasons that the WebDriver is interface. Then also we use the listener class too. The listener class is an also interface class. So you need to create another child class to implement all the method without a body definition methods from that interface class to another child class, right? So we use I test listener is one of the example also for interface class, right? So WebDriver and I test listener is the example for that we use in Selenium as an interface class. Okay.
Good.
Okay. Let's move on to Selenium. It's not that difficult. It's very the basic things like we're using, but sometimes I know it's like we don't able to like explain in a organized way, but we're doing this when you do the work, like the project, we are using all those conceptual principles, right? So let's do it on Selenium. How do you address different way of living in Selenium?
Means how to locate.
Yes. How do you address how do
Yeah.
you find it?
I got it. So there are 8 element locators. That is by ID, name, class name, tag name, XPath, CSS, link text, and partial link text.
Yeah. Except the tag name. Tag name is not the locator.
Okay.
And then attribute, right?
Okay.
So, yeah. The ID, XPath, CSS, select the link text, partial link to those things, right?
Okay.
Pretty good. Yeah, you got the answer. Next is how do you handle synchronization problem between Selenium driver and the testing object or element?
Uh,
This is a very common problem in Selenium world, like synchronization issue.
okay.
To make it, let me explain a little bit. Like sometimes you see this, like you you use the right address or locator for it,
Mm,
and then when you execute, you get an error like it's saying element not found. But whereas
mm,
you know that this address is right, so this means it is a synchronization problem between the driver and that locator that you mentioned. So there is a different way we handle that kind of synchronization issue.
mm. Synchronization. I know it, but I'm unable to explain it.
Yes, I know that you
Yeah, no, I know it. I have read it somewhere.
however remember that you use a different type of weight,
Yeah, yeah.
implicitly weight,
I am getting your point.
right? That the synchronization, it means like they are not meeting at the same time, like
Yeah,
driver and the element that we're asking the driver to find, they're not
yeah,
meeting at the same time. Maybe
yeah.
driver is a little bit earlier, and the element is still, or page is still, it's loading, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
there's that like timing issue. So
Yeah, then we can use weights
yeah, what can.
and thread dot sleep. Implicit weight.
Mhm,
There are two weights, that implicit and explicit weights.
mhm.
We can use thread dot sleep.
Okay, and what is implicitly or explicitly weighted?
Implicitly wait, it will wait for a certain period of time before the compiler throws an exception.
Okay, I mean all the weight. That's what they will do. They will wait
Yeah,
whether the time period you are.
before the compiler throws an exception.
They will.
And explicitly wait will wait for a period of time till the certain condition occurs.
Uh, it's very simply, we can say it as explicitly weighted all the weight that's a similar type of job, but there
Mhm.
is significant difference. First one is explicitly weighted. So explicitly weighted, it's declared at the beginning as a prerequisite, which is called, you can say, global weight. So whenever we use driver.find element, explicitly would it apply on that method. So all that driver defined element method, you apply that explicitly with, because this is a global weight. So all, or whenever you are looking for, you are asking a driver to find the element, that weight will apply. But
Okay.
still, if that global weight is not enough, still you are having the synchronization issue, then we
Mhm.
specifically apply some explicitly weight, which is called local weight.
Okay.
So
Okay.
for explicitly weight, then it's going to be specifically for that specific element, a specific object. So it is another extra layer of weight, right?
Okay.
And thread that slips is similarly like a local weight, but
Yeah.
explicitly weight, this is comes from the Selenium library, and
Mhm.
slips comes from the Java library. Right. So
Okay.
this is the difference, the meanings and the difference, right?
Thread dot sleep, it comes from Java.
It comes
And
from Java. Yeah.
okay. Okay.
And
Oh,
explicitly it comes from the Selenium family, which is
Selenium.
Selenium law,
Okay.
right?
Okay. 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 Got it. Yeah.
Okay. Have you noticed you ever use, like we always use driver.find element, right?
Yeah.
In an element.
Fine. Yeah.
Have you ever used, or you seen that you use driver.find elements, not element, like plural?
Yeah.
Have you ever used?
Find find elements. We can use that when we want to get the total number of can say list of elements. For find element, we have to uniquely get
What's a find element does first? So just a simple one like find element.
it
What,
will find a uniquely
like
element in a current page.
like in
Like
one or
by the,
one element.
yeah, one element
And
uniquely, and
then
that list of elements whole find elements
and so then find elements will return
list of
right?
yeah
Multiple elements,
multiple elements your list.
which we are saying like a size. I understood that when you say size means it will find number of object, right?
Get price, yeah.
So it's very simply just to, make it very simple. So find element will return only one object, whereas find elements will return multiple elements, right?
Okay.
Okay. And do you know how to handle hidden elements in Selenium?
Hidden elements.
So let's make it easier for you. Say there was a element
Okay.
your web application and it has a related HTML code, but the element is not visible. Like when you go to the browser, like web application, that element doesn't show you. Okay, but there is a code behind the scene. When you code, you use the HTML, you see there is a, sometimes it can happen like, this hidden element will be obvious. After you do some action, say maybe you accept the terms and condition, then hidden element will be, will be active, will visible. So if you have a hidden element, how do you, how do you handle it?
Oh.
So you have a code. Yeah? You have a HTML related code for the hidden element. It means it has the properties, that on behind the scene. But only the difference that the element is not visible. Like from the user perspective point of view, it's invisible.
Oh yeah.
So you have to confirm, okay, and the developer is saying, okay, there is a certain reason we keep this element as an invisible. And as a tester, you have to confirm that element is invisible. It's not visible. That's the requirement. Okay, the element, make sure that element is invisible. Okay, then how you're going to test that. Say you have the X example.
Yeah,
You
experts.
need the expert for that element, that invisible element or hidden element. Now your job to write the test cases, how, to confirm that element is invisible. It's not visible. Simply, it's very, simply like, since you have the related HTML code, I you will like there is expert. So, similar as usual, you will find that element. You will use the driver to find element by expert. Okay, so you will find your driver will able to find that element, even though that element is invisible. But since you've used the locator, it will and you can use one method. It's called isDisplayed method.
Okay, is displayed.
Yes, like, what do? We write a code first to locate that element, one of the element, and then we add some action, some method to do some action on that locator. So in this case, your requirement to ensure that element is that visible or not, or invisible. So there is a in
is displayed.
So you use that locator address and then apply this display method. And this display method is a Boolean method. It's return only true or false.
Yeah.
Right? If that element is visible, it will return true. If it's invisible, it will return
false.
And you target is using it false. So you will make sure that it's returning false. If it's return false, it means, it is an invisible. So the test should pass, right?
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah. Good.
Okay. Good. Very common question. How do you handle multiple Windows tab in a Selenium world?
Get window handles method.
Yes. get window, you use get window handles method. And then why you use get window handles method?
For multiple windows.
You are halfway.
Yeah, no, yes, I know. Get window handles.
Okay, what do you get when you use when you call get window handles method? What exactly it's returning you? What is the purpose?
Mu-
of thing?
Multiple, if like get window handle, like window type.
You're close.
Yeah, window type and next dot tab or window.
Okay, so what's really happened? When we send a request to a browser, like you go to www.xyz,
Mm-hmm.
through the HTTP protocol, it's every time we send a request, it's the HTTP through HTTP protocol, it's create a session. It's a unique session. It creates a session, or you can say session ID.
Okay.
So whenever you are on a page, behind the scene, HTTP, they create a session. When you go to another window, like whether, from the same window, some parent window, you click on a tab button, it's open another another window. That's called child window. Behind the scene, it also HTTP still create another ID or session, which is both every time when you visit a site or page, it's create a session, and those session are unique session. It means so that unique ID. You can say session ID.
Session ID. Okay. In which we can check if there is session ID, let's use has next method.
Yes. So first,
Yeah.
you
Okay,
need
got
to
it.
you need to use the reason why we use
Window
method.
method.
Window handles method is help us to give us those, the unique session ID
Session ID.
and a parent window and also the child window. So
Yeah.
then you can use those ID,
Mm-hmm.
on a method, another method, it's called, switch to window method. So, and
Yeah.
after that, you have to tell your driver, hey, driver, you switch to a specific window. Which window? Whether it's parent or child window. Especially if you if you want to ask the driver to move to the child window, then you will say, hey, driver, dot switch to window method. And inside a window, there is a argument you have to pass, which is the ID, so session ID. The child window, you'll pass the child ID. So your driver then it will switch from a default page to the from default page or from parent page to the child windows. And then you since you are there, then you would do the regular, of finding the element and do the regular job. And when it's done, again, you have to tell your driver to come back to the default window, so that which is the parent window. Then again, you can use the same command, driver to switch to window, then inside a window, pass that parent window ID, right?
Okay.
Here is so you have to ask your driver to switch around between the window. And that's why you need the session ID, and those unique session ID comes from the get window handles method.
Get window. Okay.
So that's the pretty much in a pretty nice way, like you understood the logic, how it's the driver working, right?
Okay.
And next is the TestNG. Have you ever used TestNG framework in your project?
Yes.
You use, okay. So what are the benefit of using TestNG?
We can run individual test cases in it. It helps to create reports.
Okay, yeah, through the TestNG creates a report. Okay,
We can execute parallel execution.
okay. Those do it better benefits like we use when you use the TestNG. What is the main, the overall the main benefits? using a TestNG.
We can create reports in it. The
Yes.
main one is that.
Definitely TestNG help us to create
Yeah, create the reports.
a report.
HTML. Yeah.
But if overall, if we want to say that what the TestNG does, so TestNG, it's give you it's to give you more control on your automation. Okay, so this is give you it's TestNG. You can say it's a hardware automation where it give you the control on your automation. And how it's give you the control? Example, like if you say example, you have a 500 test cases overall like it. So out of 500, you can make a specific 200 as your smoke test. So other than creating a separate project and writing all the 200 test cases, separately, other than doing this, within 500 test cases, you can segregate, you can separate 200 test cases, make them a group, and you can run 200 test cases as a smoke test out of 500. So it's giving you more control that, whatever the way you want to build your framework, the dynamic, use cases. You can exclude, out of 100 test cases, you can exclude, number of test cases, you can exclude any specific test cases, you can exclude even any specific method from a class. You have say one class, you have 10 different methods. So you can exclude, any one of the method if you want. So example, I can give you, you have a class, where a login class, where you have a method for web login, you have a method for mobile login. So your application, suppose your application, support mobile and web. So you wrote individual method underneath the same class for mobile and web. So when you are going to run a web automation, like, webs, the regression suite for web, definitely you don't want to run the mobile method, related to the mobile method, right? So you can want to exclude. Other than deleting, you can exclude. You have that testing to give you that power. You can exclude any specific method. You can exclude any specific even class, from your execution. So that's give you that much power, So you can make set up a priority. Which method will run first, which one will run last. You can set up. You can even call any specific method to run at the beginning as a prerequisite. First, tons of benefits. So overall, it's give you the control on your framework.
Control on the framework.
Okay, from the TestNG is very important, right? So we use a lot TestNG in our framework. So specifically for Selenium automation, without a TestNG, you will not able to make a dynamic robot framework. So from the TestNG, so we use some of the annotation.
Yes.
Do we use that? Can you recall like some of the annotation we use before method?
Yeah, it's before suit.
Yeah. So what is the difference between before method and before test in TestNG?
Before method and before
test.
Before method, this method will run before each test method.
Before each and every test method.
Test method. And before test method, the other one?
Is that in a class level or is it an XML level?
XML?
In XML level. Okay. And what about the before test?
It will run before any test method belonging to class, like inside test tag is.
I think you are mixing up. You're giving a reverse answer. So before method, it runs in class level, not the
Okay.
It runs at class level before, and the rest of the part was right. It's like before each and every test method, you have that is specific class.
Yeah.
If you have a core method in a class, 4 test method in a class, and one before method, so that before method will run 4 times before each test for that specific class. Other end, before test is run on XML file, on your XML TestNG XML file.
Yeah.
When you have a Google or test folder, right? So it runs only once, for that specific, according to a specific module. So if you have a module example X and you have a 5 different class and total you have a 100 method test cases. And if you have a one, if you have a one method, which is using a before test annotation, so that test method, that before test method will run, out of that hundreds method that you have mentioned, that is specific module or test folder in XML file.
Okay.
Make sense? So
Yeah.
before test is runs on XML level,
Okay.
before method is run in class level.
Okay.
Right? And but if
That's
methods runs multiple times, it depends on how many test method you have. But for test method runs only once.
one.
All the methods, all the class you have is specifically mentioned in that module or
Yeah.
folder in your XML file, right?
Okay.
Good. Have you ever used data-driven testing, or do you know what is data-driven testing?
No, I don't know about that.
So
Actually,
probably you used, right? Probably you're not able to syncing the idea, but I'm pretty sure that probably you use, like, when you to pass multiple test data to an application at one time, we need to, resource test data, could be from different source of file, could be JSON file, Node file, or from Excel file. Like, sometimes we most of the times we we have a test data in Excel, example, Excel file. So uh, we import that data, that testing data, in our test cases. You import, you resource some state to test data from different, outside of your testing frames, could be from different file. It could be from JSON file, could be Node file, could be Excel file. You want to import some testing data to your test cases. That's called data tree. So you're driving data from outside to your test case.
okay.
That's called data driven. And the technique is used that, to concept this whole concept also is called parameterization.
Okay. Means where we add variable.
Yeah, it could be like,
Yeah, we could add. Okay.
for
Yeah,
example,
understood.
you are testing a login test, okay? And you have 4 different sets of login username and password, like not one set, like 4 different, right? So you can have a, say, Excel file, or you can have a JSON file where you have a username, password, 4 different sets of username, password that you can retrieve. You can import that username, password. Those are the testing data to your login test case. The concept, this is called data-driven testing, or this whole concept is called parameterization also.
Okay.
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 Last question, or the second last, I would say. It's, uh, what what is the difference between a hard assert and soft assert? Have you ever used assert?
Yes,
So do you
I
know
know.
which one you use most of the times, or what is
We use soft assert.
yes, which is most of the time is better option to use, but a lot of times we use hard assert. Do you know what's the difference between a hard assert and soft assert?
Yes. In hard. Sorry.
You can take
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Sorry. Hard assert. In that. It throws an assertion exception immediately when an assert statement fails,
Mhm.
and it makes the method fail if the assert condition it gets fail, and the remaining statements that are inside the method, they will be terminated.
Yeah, well,
About it.
yeah.
About it. So to overcome this one, we use soft assert,
Mhm.
and in soft assert, uh, uh, i- in that method, we can uh, collect the errors during test method during test.
You- you- What?
It doesn't throw the exception when an assertion fails.
Mhm,
It continues with the next step.
mhm,
It would continue with the next step after the assert statement.
mhm.
So I have done one example, like if we want to
What do you, I mean, you don't have to do the example. You can say, what do we do next? Like, this is another problem. Like the hardest part, it's get the problem.
like in
Right.
that in hard assert we do not need to create object, and in soft assert we create an object.
Why you create object so that we can use some of
We
them, right?
want, yeah, and in if we want to through that, like if there is an exception in soft assert and if we want to throw it, and then we need assert all method
Yes, that's what I want
as a last statement.
to call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to cover it. Yeah.
So the hard assert, simply says the hard assert. It's when there is a assert fail, hard assert throw the exception. Well,
Exception immediately.
which
Yeah.
is pretty good, right? That's what we want. But the
Mm.
problem is if there is any more statement you have in this method, hard assert will, since it's throwing an exception, it will stop the execution. It will not execute that rest of the remaining statement in the same method. It will move to the next test method.
Yeah.
It's like ignoring this statement. So we don't want that. To resolve that, soft assert, on the other way, it does the similar. It's a resolve the issue, but it's give me another problem. So what it does, it's when soft assert is execute all the statement, even though assertion got failed. But the problem is soft assert, like when the statement assertion got failed, it does not count as a fail. But that's what we want. We want also to count the fail and also execute the rest of the statement. So to resolve that kind of issue in a soft assert, that they have a one method is called
Assert.
all. So that
Okay.
we can call that assert or assert all method at the very last statement in our execution. So that doing this, calling that method in the soft assert, throw an exception if the test cases fail, as well as it will execute the remaining statement, right?
Yeah.
Right. But I understood, like you have the idea, you're using that. I know it's just a matter of like,
Yeah, I have used that, like you're saying, assert true and condition in that we false. So that's why we're using assert all method at the last.
exactly.
Yeah, I have done that example.
Let's the last question. It is a common question also. So like the framework challenges in Selenium project. Have you ever faced any challenges? You must
Like handling Windows and web pop-up alerts.
want to pop up. Then uh, how do you handle that?
For web, we can use switch to dot alert method, and for Windows, we have to use, I think, third party tools, auto IT.
Like yes.
Yeah, and more one is dynamically, like in Google search, like auto suggestive drop downs.
Oh,
Then problem, for that we can use dynamic XPaths.
dynamic expert using the parent-child relationship something.
Yeah,
Parent-child.
parent-child relationship. Yeah,
Okay.
and the other one is that's object repository.
Mm, okay. Finish it.
Mm, like
It's very common.
I don't have a clear.
Yeah, the very common things like we already discussed, like synchronization issue.
Yeah, synchronization like weights, thread dot sleep we can use.
Implicitly, explicitly, and
Yeah, and thread dot sleep we can use in that.
we can use.
And yeah,
And
and dynamically changing like properties like username.
mhm.
Mm, yes.
I think that's okay. I mean, just to say a couple of them, you can see That's a synchronization issue. So whenever
Yes.
say any problem, make sure that
Mhm.
you mention the solution to how you solve it. That's
Solve
what
it.
we want to know. Like, not only that's like the problem. Problem could be tons of. You know,
Yeah.
how did you solve it? This is give you the credibility, like your capability, like how you able to handle it.
Handle.
Like synchronization issue, like or
So just drop downs, handling web and window alerts,
yes, or frame inside a frame.
frame inside a frame. Yeah, we have to use the outer frame like dot size method first. Then we have to get the index of it, hash index.
Yes. Then
Yeah.
again
Then
using
get inside the frame,
then again use find out that I use the size method. See this how many frame you have inside the frame, right?
inside the frame. Yeah.
Then use the index number to get in the inner frame,
Frame.
and you do it right. So
Yeah.
that's kind. This is one of the things like the problem. A lot of times we repeat, and there's a tons of problems. Could be like you can mention what are the problems you face in your project, but make sure you
Mhm.
mention the solution.
Yeah.
Nicely, whatever the methods or even the plugin tools, so you use just to make sure that's, just that one.
One more one is like getting window handles. We recently
Yes.
did.
Yeah, you can even say because
Yeah, we have to.
handling multiple window channel window is not as straightforward, right? So we
Mhm.
have to, we have to
Traders.
systematize. So you can mention that one too, right? So
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
it's a three, define the three problem with the
Mhm.
solution,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Okay, last part of it. It's SQL part. Very basic,
Yeah.
very basic. So what is RDBMS stands for, or do you know what is the RDB?
Relational database management system.
Mhm. What is our RDBMS stands?
Uh,
Sorry.
uh, yeah, no. Um, in that data is stored in the database objects called tables. Uh, it is the basis, like in basis for in modern database systems like MySQL, Oracle.
What exactly does it? Isn't it store data into the
It
function,
stores data
right?
in a database objects, which
Or
are called tables. And table, they are the collection of data entries, which consist of rows and columns.
yeah, I mean, simply put, it's a RDBMS is store the data into the collection of the tables, which is related by common fields between the columns of the tables, right?
Okay.
It is also provide relational operators to manipulate the data, which is stored in the tables, right? Some relational operator that we use to manipulate the data, right? So it's a normal what do we use like SQL, MySQL is all are following that.
Modern
Right?
database systems. Yeah.
What is primary key?
I don't know. I didn't know about the keys, primary, foreign key.
Yeah, so it's important.
No.
It makes a relationship between multiple tables. So it's a key. It's a combination of field which uniquely specific a role. This is a special kind of unique key, and it has the implicit you know um, uh, constraint. Like it means the primary key value cannot be enough. Okay, so you know this like we use primary key or foreign key, right? So it's primary key. It makes a very significant role when they develop the table and column, right?
Yeah.
Uh, have you ever used a join?
Yes.
So what is join?
Join. These are used to retrieve data
From where?
from database.
Yes.
There are different types of joins like inner join, um, right inner left join,
You can say inner join, left join, right join.
full joins, outer join. Yeah.
Yes, it's especially 4 types of join you can say. So it's a join, it's a SQL keyword, right? So we use to query or retrieve the data
Mhm.
from tables, from multiple tables, right? So,
Okay, yeah.
so when we use join only that we use when you have to retrieve data from more than one.
Tables, multiple
And
tables. Yeah.
so we use that, this SQL statement to retrieve data from multiple tables based on the relationship between those tables, between the fields of those tables, right? So they have related between, if it's a 2 or 3 tables, right? So there should be common. One of the column have to be common. So that's the relationship, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's common. Is that is that either inner common or outer common, right common, or left common? That's why the common records, based on the common records, join divided by mainly is 4. So like inner join, left join, right join, and then
Yeah.
the full
Full
join.
join. Yeah.
So what is the inner join? So what exactly return when you do
Inner join, it returns all the records that have only that have the matching values in both tables.
yes,
In
it's
both tables.
it returns at least one match of rows between the tables.
Yeah.
Okay. The last question. So
Mhm.
that have you ever used a delete or truncate command?
Yes.
So what's the difference? Do you know difference between delete and truncate? Or when we need to use delete or truncate command? If you know that,
Yes.
then it's that you know the one.
Yeah. Yeah. The delete command is used to delete the existing records in a table, and the other one is truncate command. In delete command, we can use the where condition, and in truncate,
You
where
said
clause is
what?
not.
Where, right? Okay. You said
Yeah,
a
where,
Hmm.
and we can't use where clause with truncate.
That's right.
And the second one is in delete, we can roll back, and in truncate, we can't roll back.
Yes. And
Uh, Other one,
I think it's good. I mean, you got the answer. There's a little bit one more.
truncate is faster than delete.
Got it. So that's actually 3, the use case of delete and truncate. Yeah,
Truncate, yeah.
absolutely. Well, I think that's all for today. Like, so overall, you did good, but I think let's stop it and then we can discuss. Okay,
Okay.
of the record.